Alhamdulillah, in the last couple of days, one of the fast-moving messages, especially in the Muslim social network, was the message from Ayatollah Khamenei wrote to the youth in the Western world, United States and European countries. And the main message in this statement was that he advised the youth, Muslims and non-Muslims, to learn Islam from its original sources, not the media, not from people of prejudice, those who hate our faith, but go directly to the sources, to the Quran, and to the life and legacy of the Holy Prophet. And he advised the youth not to be confused with the propaganda of Islamophobia. And yesterday when Press TV called me and we had a Skype conversation, I told them that yes, this message was the right one, the right time, and for a right audience, for the youth. And I mentioned that if there is anything that is not matching with the essence of Islam, what is Islam? Islam is a religion of reason. It is a religion of moderation. Islam is a religion of science and civilization, and also a religion of spiritual salvation for human society. Now, if anything is against reason, against moderation, against science, against the essence of civilization, then that is against Islam. That is against Quran. We have a book, the Holy Quran, that amazingly 750 times the word ilm and mushtaqat al-ilm, ilm, alim, ta'lamun, ya'lamun, i'lam. The term of knowledge is mentioned in the entire Quran 750 times. And now we have other words in the Quran like at-tafaqquh, at-tafakkur, at-tadabbur. I'm not talking about them. If you want to count all of this, that they are talking about the same essence, you are talking probably 1,500 times. Everything is in Quran is about knowledge. Edward Brown, he mentioned that the Muslim made the largest contribution to science and chemistry and medicine. And he was not Muslim, but he is saying that. And everyone knows that in the Dark Ages, Middle Ages, when the West was going through the darkness of superstitions, there was the light of Muslim civilization and Islamic civilization in the large part of this planet. If you go to the subject of the Holy Quran, what is the subject of the Quran? La ilaha illallah. At-Tawheed. This word is hijacked by the criminals. We shouldn't be fooled by La ilaha illallah on the flag of the ISIS. No, La ilaha illallah in the true term is the essence of our faith. Everything in Islam returns to At-Tawheed. And Tawheed means unity. Unity between mind and heart and hands. That it makes us as human beings, each human being is a unit, a united in intention, expression, and action. There is no gap, there is no hypocrisy in human soul based on the Tawheed. Shouldn't be. So the Tawheed is motivation for a nation to be pious, to be peaceful, to be fair, and to be loving, and to be brothers and sisters. This is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. This is the meaning of Tawheed. When we say, قُلُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, there is only one God, no God but one. No God but one. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Arabic we call him Allah, in English we say God. It means a lot. It really matters in our faith. What is matter? What is it that matters the most? The word, which is the subject of the Quran, at-Tawheed. And that means that we should worship only one God. So don't confuse Allah with your ego. Because some people, they worship their ego and they think they are worshiping Allah. They worship their interest, they worship their pleasure, they worship their treasure. أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. So they say one God, but they have so many gods. That is not Tawheed. That is not what Quran calls him. Al-Hayy al-Qayyum, خالق السماوات والأرض, رب السماوات والأرض, نور السماوات والأرض, is the light of heaven and earth. Is the creator, is the guide, is the Lord who is caring for us. This is why he said Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, because he cared to guide us, to correct us. He is the Lord who is Ra'uf and Rahim and Wadud. He is loving, he is merciful, he is compassionate. And then he created us and he gave us the gift of freedom. And some people, they use it and they do what they were supposed to do. لِيَعْبُدُونَ. They worship only one God. They become Ibadur Rahman. And some people may abuse this freedom and they become Abidu Shaitan. So that is also the mercy of Allah that gave us this opportunity to choose our destiny. So in this message he was right when he said that those guys don't represent this Tawheed. They do not represent this faith. They are a bunch of criminals who are hired to destroy Tawheed, to destroy this faith. They are enemies. So it's just a joke that these people call themselves representative of Islam or Islamic State, that you want to vomit when you hear Islamic State, is just so disgusting and so abusing that you cannot even describe the feeling of hear this propaganda. So they do not represent this message. We don't even know them. One day they call them Taliban, another day they are tired of that word, they changed the name, they said Al-Qaeda. For a while they are talking Al-Qaeda, then all of a sudden ICE, and then ICE become ISIS, and it's just a big movie. And we do not even know, like one day they call it Zarqawi, another day all of a sudden Abu Bakr Baghdadi. Who is this guy? And nobody knows. His family, his reality is just a name, and another time he is gone and somebody else is. So this is not anything to do with this faith. Yeah, it's very similar to Yazid and Muawiyah, but they did not represent Islam either. So it is important for the youth in the West in general, and the Muslims in particular, to understand the meaning of all these laughable movies. That they were hired to do certain, they are there to destroy this faith. We should be aware of that. Other than that, how come that they call it, coalition of 60 countries for month and month and month, and still they cannot get back one city, Mosul? I mean, what kind of 60 countries they are fighting and they cannot take back one city? If you are serious, you don't have to fight, you don't don't have to bomb. Just don't send them money, don't send them weapons, don't send them more manpower. Don't provide them with mass media. You are supporting and giving everything to the enemies, but the Iraqi government is crying and saying, just send us some weapon. You don't have to send soldiers, you don't have to do anything, just give us some weapon, we are ready to take care of them. You are sending all to them. So, this is very clear for us, but not for many people in this country. They do not know that. They do not know that. They say, well, all of a sudden, bombing Israel is bombing like in Qunaytara. My goodness, you thought that you are very mad of terrorism. You became a terrorist, and you are killing the enemies of terrorists, those who are there in Qunaytara and other parts. They are there to fight ISIS, to find the terrorists. You go and you bomb them, and you take care of the wounded criminals from those organizations. What kind of anti-ISIS and anti-terrorism is this? What is going on? So they are not against ISIS, they are not against terrorism. They are, if they were, there should be no connection between them and Saudi Arabia. Now, the king is dead and they are crying, oh, the king was a reformist. Wow, what kind of reformist the king was? He was reformist because he was in love with Israel. He didn't pay that much attention to President Obama, but his entire attention, King Abdullah, was to Netanyahu and Israel. That is why he gets that propaganda. And now they are sending all this message that, well, he was this and he was that. Yeah, what he was? Malik Abdulaziz, he had 22 wives, his father. The King Abdulaziz, 22 wives. And 37 sons. We don't know the number of the daughters because they hide it, because the daughters don't count. And then Malik Abdullah was the son number 13. And now his brother Malik Salman, son number 25. And now this guy is already 80 and a stroke and suffering from a little Alzheimer. He became like king. Oh, they want to have democracy in Syria, but the Saudi Arabia doesn't need democracy. No election, zero democracy, zero everything. And now he's going to die soon, and who is going to come after? The son number 35 is the Muqrin, who is now the vice king, or the monarch, second Waliul Ahd. He is going to be the next king, and he's going to be number 35. So they have 7,000 princes all over. 7,000, and everybody is waiting on the list that who is going to be the next king. This is like democracy. And at the same time, they are Khadim al-Haramain al-Sharifain as well. They want to have dunya and akhirah all together. And they forgot that all this wealth, now Malik Abdullah is dead. He was one of the wealthiest guys in the universe. Billions and billions of dollars from oil money. And now how many boys and girls? But when are they going to learn and listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. But when their qalb is saqim, is not salim, is full of disease, was waiting for a death. This guy died and he is in a cemetery now, but he took this wish to brave, because he was waiting for the United States to attack Syria directly. That was one of the wishes of this king. He was saying cut the head of the snake. He was talking about Iran. King Abdullah was saying that. That's the snake, cut the head. And that's the source. They don't want to learn. أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Now the king has to answer to Allah. He couldn't take with him all these billions and billions of dollars. He couldn't take any of those palaces. Wow, this shining. full of light and luxurious palaces in Saudi, and everywhere they go, they have the biggest palaces. They couldn't take anything with them. قُلْ إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي تَفِرُّونَ مِنْهُ فَإِنَّهُ مُلَاقِيكُمْ ثُمَّ تُرَدُّونَ إِلَى عَالِمِ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Yeah. Their iddia and their claim that we are Khadim al-Haramain, they are Khadim al-Urush, al-Furush. And Wahhabism has nothing to do with the real teaching of the Quran. There is nothing in the Quran about Wahhabism and nothing in the Sunnah of the Prophet to support. That is a Jahiliyyah. That doesn't come from Islam. It comes from al-Jahiliyyah. And now this chaos in the entire Arab world. This is why, brothers and sisters, your responsibility, my responsibility, it is a tough time for Muslims. Do you think if they can make ISIS in the mountains of Kurdistan or Mosul and Yemen and Libya, they cannot make ISIS here? So there is a need for awareness of American society in general, for Muslim, non-Muslim, Christians. We have to be aware. We have to let them know that what is going on now, this chaos everywhere you go, from Afghanistan to Pakistan to Yemen to Libya to Iraq to Syria, they are destroying the entire Muslim world. But they are doing it in the name of those people who say, we are Islam, we are Muslim. No. As a matter of fact, if we have a system like United States, that the president, I'm not saying there is 100% freedom and democracy, even United States, there is no such a thing as perfect and hypocrisy. But at least you have someone who is responsible toward the people, has to have a state of union. You have all of these kings, they cannot even talk their normal talk, daily talk. Even if after they write it 10 times, they cannot even read it. And no responsibility. So, what is going on here is much closer to Islam than what the fake Khadim al-Haramain is talking about. At least you have here a president that has to go a state of union, give a lecture, talk about education, job, science, technology, internet, income, tax, insurance, gas prices, youth, family, building community, building countries, all these important points that the president has to deal with these issues. But over there, none of this exists. There is a poor blogger of the Saudi blogger, 10 years in prison and 1,000 lashes because he had a blog. Can you imagine how they want to build a community and a country with this kind of jahiliyyah? So your responsibility, my responsibility, brothers and sisters, is to share information and to bring awareness to ourselves. This is why last Sunday when we had almost 400 people here in the House of Wisdom to honoring a Christian pastor, Martin Luther King, because his message is message of Islam. He was talking about peace and justice and awareness and standing against injustice and oppression and against racism and slavery and discrimination and prejudice. And this is the message of Islam. We have the mayor, the judges, the police department, the clergy of all faiths, members of non-Muslim communities, some members of our own community. But occasion like this should be occasion for everybody in this community to understand that this matters, interfaith matters, dialogue matters, building bridges of awareness and communication with other communities matters, educating others about our faith matters. But unfortunately, many times we are just sleeping, no more ghafla, and then they decide. What is really our answer for Rasulullah, peace be upon him, when he says that I introduced my Ahlul Bayt? What did you do about my Ahlul Bayt? We gave you the Quran, we gave you the Sunnah, we gave you Imam Ali, we gave you Ahlul Bayt. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Did you hadith that? Did you talk about it? Did you share it? Did you take this message to others? We have such a big capital, and we are not using all these gifts and this beauty and this blessing and this grace of God in our tradition and in our religion. نعمة القرآن ونعمة السنة ونعمة أهل البيت ونعمة العقل ونعمة الهداية وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها. You cannot even count it. We have all this ni'mah, but sometimes we take it for granted. We have ni'mah Salat al-Jum'ah. Why is it that Sayyid Khamenei has to send a message to the youth of this country and he lives 10,000 kilometers far from us? So he cares about that. You have the President Khatami, who I called him the Martin Luther King of Iran. He sent message from there 10,000 kilometers far from Tehran to United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and emphasizing on the importance of the duty of United Nations to bring dialogue of culture and civilizations and communities and nations and put an end to this violence and terrorism and barbarism. They think about this, but then you and I, we live next to this youth. They are far from us, 10,000 kilometers, and they talk with them. But what happened to you and I that we don't talk with the youth who are next to us, to our neighbors, to non-Muslims? We think that our life is just about, we have American dream to have a house and have a car and have some income and have some food and go to supermarket and then be happy that we have heat in our house and we are okay, forgot about everything else. Or we have a duty. And somebody was, I saw in some Facebook, some of the youth. I was surprised when there is something from like Press TV, there is something intellectual and talking a philosophical call. People even don't care. If I put a picture, me and Muhammad Hussein, you see everybody like it. You know, they don't want to think. It's just like, you know, 100 people like it. But then if you put something that really important, you see, nobody even paid attention. This is something that we have to change. And I told one of the brothers who said, oh, this is message important from Ayatollah Khamenei. Nobody talked about this so far. I said, where are you? Every Friday we are talking about this. But you never come to the message to know about that. If you don't come, how do you know about that? And now you think that something happened that never happened. Yeah, that message is important. And I talk about it, and today, that was the subject of my talk here. But the point is that if you don't get involved and don't get engaged and don't show that we care and we realize the importance of the ni'am, the gifts that God gave us, and we share it with humanity, then you can have ISIS there and ISIS here and everywhere, and they say, oh, we are representative of Islam, because you and I, we didn't show that we represent Islam. So they make fake representative for our religion. So I told this brother that if you are serious about this message, come to Friday prayer. I don't see him in the Friday prayer because I know that brother. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. It's better for you in kuntum ta'lamun. But if you don't want to be ta'lamun, if you don't want to know it, if you don't want to appreciate it, if you don't want to understand it, then it's not going to do it. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ عِبَادَ اللَّهِ أُوصِيكُم بِتَقْوَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وإلى الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.